Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Creechbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News. I'm James Creechbaum. 2 humanoid beings spotted in southern Maryland, and here's the report. My parents live in southern Maryland. One day around dusk, my stepdad was driving home from work along the highway that is lined by forests not far from our home. While driving, he saw 2 tall, pale, slender figures emerge from the forest. He said they looked at least 8 feet tall, and that their bodies appeared to be exoskeletons. As he drove by, he said that one of them looked at the car, and he felt as if it was looking at him right in the eye. When he looked in the rearview mirror, they were quickly retreating to the forest. Why ghosts are symbolized with white sheets? Why does a person dress up as a ghost by cutting eye holes in a bed sheet and then draping that sheet over his or her head? Does a traditional ghost really wear sheets? So instead of boxing their dead, the poor shrouded bodies for burial by wrapping them in a winding sheet, a white cloth that bound and covered the corpse head to toe. And whenever a mischief making wanted to frighten someone by pretending to be a ghost, he used white fabric to give himself the appearance of a body that had just crawled from the grave. Haunted Michigan town was like living in hell. With a population of 755, a small town of Merrill, Michigan, might seem at a glance like any other rural settlement. On a closer inspection, however, things there are anything but ordinary. Since the 1970s, the town has been under siege by a relentless onslaught of paranormal incidents and strange phenomena, forcing some residents to pack up and leave entirely. Another family, who still lives in the town, has been tormented by unexplained cold spots, banging sounds, spontaneous scratch marks, and sightings of shadowy apparitions. One resident described the town as a nightmare, while another said it was like living in hell. CIA MKUltra, when the government dosed LSD without your knowledge. It creates flashbacks, sometimes fatal for some people. The drug came into popularity in the mid-60s. The MKUltra CIA operatives slipped LSD into their subjects' drinks without informing most of them. Experiments often involved psychological torture. Some victims committed suicide or were confined to psychiatric facilities caused by the experiments. It's said that the CIA branch known as the Office of Science Intelligence, disbanded in 1963, was primarily involved in these experiments. It is interesting that the government conducted secret experiments even after everyone knew about them. What if the day you fell ill or heard sounds or voices in your head was another secret experiment? Oxygen found 500 million light years away. For the first time ever, scientists have discovered evidence of a molecular oxygen in a distant galaxy. This most recent discovery, which marks only the 3rd ever extrasolar detection and the first ever outside of the Milky Way galaxy, could tell us much about the incidence of oxygen out in space. Not only is this the first detection of oxygen in another galaxy, but the amount detected is also more than has ever been found anywhere else outside of our own solar system. The find could help scientists learn more about the molecular outflow from such a galactic nuclei. In England, a 10-foot mysterious humanoid dismembered deer on the road. According to a local media, at first this incomprehensible tall creature was seen by a local elderly couple, who then told about this to a researchers of a paranormal phenomena. Now, the researcher, he went to the area in the evening to check the report, and when he was driving along the A18 highway not far from the airport, he himself saw a black, very tall, human-like creature running. It was at least 10 feet tall. First of all, they discovered a large hole that someone made in a living fence on the edge of the road, and then suddenly stumbled upon a deer's legs, which were lying on the side of the road very close to the place where they saw the humanoid. It was even reportedly seen eating a dog before being spooked by the onlookers and jumped over an 8-foot fence with it still in its mouth. Next news break, next show.
From the compound in beautiful Gig Harbor, Washington. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Well, good evening or morning, depending on your location. Tonight, we're talking about orbs, UFOs, and stuff. Are they real? Well, we still got plenty of gas, and we're ready to get back in with our guests on Night Dreams Talk Radio. Well, Jeff, are you still with us?
I am here.
Well, yeah, again, so you're saying that these orbs, lights, or craft could be living beings. I could go along with that, but I do know that there is people being visited by UFOs, and that might be just another subject. Have you ever captured an actual what you thought was a UFO?
Well, I consider these orbs and these lights, UFOs. Just because I don't think that they're craft, it doesn't mean that they're not UFOs. If you're talking about have I ever videotaped a craft or seen a craft, no, I haven't videotaped a craft. I have seen something that could resemble a craft, but it was so quick and so fast, it was hard to videotape. Going back to my story.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm finding evidence of, the Mayans are out there, and I'm finding evidence of tombs and altars for sacrifice, and I'm finding, the petroglyphs are talking about giants. I'm finding evidence that the giants could have constructed some of these things, these tombs out here to conceal the doors. But yet, the archaeologist isn't talking about this. No one is talking about this. So I went to the downtown public library, and I found some information in the Arizona room. And I asked the lady, I was like, can you just give me everything that you have on South Mountain? And so she came out with a couple of files, and one file I opened up, and holy smoke, there it was. It was talking about the first park ranger of South Mountain. Now, his name was Charles Holbert, and he was the first park ranger in the 1930s up until the late 40s. And apparently his stories, his writings, it talks about the tombs that are up there left from the Mayans. It talks about the sacrificing tables, and all of this information was told to him by the Indians who lived in the area at that time in the 1930s. Now this confirmed everything that I was finding out there, and it even this is where I got this information from. Was from the files in the Arizona room of the downtown public library. And this story hasn't been told in 80 years. Apparently, after his death in the late 40s, all this information was tucked away and buried in this folder for 80 years. And I think the reason for this is because, he was out there telling people about the tombs, and he was telling people about the gold that's still up there on South Mountain. And at that time, there was a lot of people going up there trying to dig for the gold. And they were destroying, petroglyphs. They were destroying a lot of sacred spots, and he would have to chase them away. And so what I think the government did after his death is they buried his information. They don't talk about this information anymore, and they made South Mountain a government park. It's one of the largest government parks in the United States, and because of this, if anything that you find there, you're going to get in trouble. Anything that you dig up, like if you dig up a tomb or anything like that, you're going to get in trouble. And that's the reason why they made this park a government park, is because yes, there is gold. There's possibly other things that are buried there that would literally change the history of Phoenix as we know it. Now, to me, this is credible. If the park ranger has written literature, has written folders, written flyers, and had passed this out to his people at the time, on what's really here on South Mountain, then yes, this is credible to me. This is what the petroglyphs are talking about, because the petroglyphs aren't talking about spaceships. They're talking about what the archaeologists are calling anthropomorphs, flying serpents, shapeshifter entities, coming and going through vortexes, spirals that are carved on the mountains out there, things like that. And it also, because it does say in his journals, this is where I get the information from, that the devil came from the east and took the people away. They called them phantoms. He's got this poem on this folder, on this document by him that says, "Watch these hills as he has done, and you will see the phantoms too." And oh my God, this is what I have done. I spent 3.5 years watching those hills in the Valley of the Sun, and I have seen the phantoms. I have seen the spirits. I have videotaped these things coming and going from this mountain. I have done it so many times. I've proven it, and I verified it. I was the first one to match these flying things in the skies of Phoenix to the rock art on the mountains around the Valley of the Sun. No one in history has ever done this before. It's been a theory. We think the Native Americans were seeing UFOs and carving them on the rocks, but no one has really proven this until I came around in 2005 and verified all this with my discoveries. And this is the reason why, I did the History Channel, the UFO Hunter Show, and I did True TV. I've done a lot of other talk radio shows and things like that. And I have my own show on YouTube also, and which I talk about the petroglyphs, and I talk about the spirits and things like that. And go ahead.
Okay, well, where can they find your YouTube channel?
Okay, you can find me at the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. So it's the Phoenix Lights Petroglyphs in the Sky. It's all one word. Just remember the rock art petroglyphs and then in the sky. And the reason why I named my research this, Petroglyphs in the Sky, is because that's what we're seeing. This is what's been verified. This is credible. This is proven that the petroglyphs that are carved on the mountains in Phoenix, Arizona are being seen in the skies today. That spread of the March 13th, 1997 spread, that famous one with the 6 to 8 lights over there next to South Mountain. I have found that petroglyph of the same orb formation.
Interesting.
Now, I documented that, right. I found it on South Mountain of the same exact sighting that happened in March 1997. So, they didn't have video cameras back then. The Native Americans didn't have cameras. They had stone boulders to record special events that took place in the areas of where it occurred at.